Section 4.6, Part C. Find an equation of the line given 2 points. So say we're given points x1, y1 and x2, y2. Here the subscription, remember, just tell us that these x's are different, the y's are different. So given those 2 points, first find slope using the slope formula. M equals change of y divided by change in x, which is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Then if one of the points is a y-intercept, so it's a 0, b, we'll use the slope-intercept form of an equation. Otherwise, we'll just use the generic point-slope form of an equation, and either the first point, y minus y1 equals m times the difference of x minus x1, or the second point, y minus y2 equals m times the difference of x minus x2. Example 38. Find an equation that passes through the points 3, negative 15 and 10, negative 2. First, we need to find the slope. M equals y2 minus y1. And here I'm labeling my first, or this point, point 2, and this point, point 1. So y2 minus y1, negative 15 minus negative becomes positive 2. And then x2, 3, minus negative 10 becomes 3 plus 10. Simplify. Negative 13 over 13 becomes negative 1. Now I plug that into the equation y minus y1. In place of y1, I replace it with negative 2 equals m, which is now negative 1, times x minus negative 10. Here I simplify y plus 2 equals negative x plus 10. You try 63. Ordered pairs 14, negative 3, and 16, negative 2 are solutions to a linear equation. What is the equation? So I labeled my points from left to right. M equals the difference of y2, which is negative 2, minus negative 3, all over x1, 16, x2, sorry, minus x1, which would be 14. My denominator is positive, as it should be. And here I could take negative 2 and subtract negative 3, so add 3 to it, I'm left with is 1. Now I can use either point. I'll just use this point right here. Y minus negative 3 equals 1/2 times the difference of x minus 14. And I'll simplify y plus 3 equals 1/2 x minus 14. Now you try 64. Find an equation that passes through the points 9, negative 2 and 9, positive 13. Pause here. You go ahead. First thing I do is I try to number my points from right to left, but I notice here that my x values are actually the same. Both have an x value of 9, which tells me that this is going to be an equation of the form x equals 9. But say I didn't notice that yet, that this was going to be a vertical line. First I could try to find the slope. M equals y2, which would be 13, minus y1, negative 2, and I would put x1, 9, minus x2, or x1, 9, I get 15 over 0, which is an undefined slope. And the only equation that has an undefined slope is a vertical line. In either case, we should realize that this is going to be an equation x equals 9. You try 65. Find an equation that passes through the point 0, 4 and 3, 4. Here, I label my points from left to right. 0, 4 is 0.1 and 3, 4 is 0.2. But I notice that they both have the same y coordinate. So this must be an equation of the form y equals 4. But say I didn't notice that. I could try to find the slope. Here I would have 4 minus 4 over 3 minus 0. And I get 0 over 3, which is just 0. And the only line that has a slope 0 is a horizontal line. And I know that my horizontal line passes through the point 0, 4, as well as 3, 4, so my y-coordinate must be 4. In example 39, we need to find an equation that passes through the points 0, 4 and 33, negative 25. Let's try this again. M equals, well, here's going to be my 0.2, here's 0.1. So what we have is m equals y2 negative 25 minus 4 all over 33 minus 0. I simplify this. M equals negative 29 over 33. Here this has some 3's and 11 in it. This, if I add these together, 9 plus 2 is 11, which isn't divisible by 3 or by 11, so this is as simplified as we can get. Now I notice that this is a y-intercept because my x value, 0, means that it's on the y-axis. So I can actually use the formula y equals mx plus b. Here m is negative 29 over 33, and b would be 4. I'll box the formula or the equation for this line. Now you try. Ordered pairs negative 17 and negative 27 and 0, negative 59 are a solution to a linear equation. What is the equation? So you may have noticed that this is also a y-intercept right here, but we still need to find the slope. So m equals, here I'm going to let this be my 0.1, so we'll have negative 27 minus negative 59 all over x value of negative 17 minus 0. Oh, actually, it looks like I ordered these the wrong, in a way that I'll have a negative denominator, but that's all right. I can just change that to the numerator once I solve. My numerator is going to be all by itself. 2 and so 7 take away 9 is 2, and 2 taking away from 5 would be 3. And then this one is going to end up being plus. So we have more in the positive direction. Here I'll put negative 32 over 17. Now I can plug in the points. Y equals mx plus b. So we have y equals negative 32 over 17. X plus my b value would be negative 59. And I can simplify this to y equals negative 32 over 17x minus 59. And I'm done. Example 40. The number of refrigerators produced and their cost are linearly related. That is, we can write the equation of cost and number of refrigerators in terms of a line. When you make 4 refrigerators, this costs $10,200. And when you make 12 refrigerators, this costs $23,000. What is the equation for cost C in terms of refrigerators made R? Well, the phrase write this for cost in terms of R means we need to have C equals something to do with R, which means my second coordinate is solved for, so C has to be my second coordinate. And my first coordinate will be R. So when we make 4 refrigerators, which is here's R, how much will that cost? 10,200. Notice here we leave off the comma so it doesn't confuse us with the comma that would go here separating my coordinates. And when I make 12 refrigerators, that would cost 23,000. Now let's find an equation for this. We know that a linear equation will have a fixed slope. So m equals, here we'll have 12 minus 4 in my denominator, and in my numerator, 23000 minus 10200. Simplify this. We have 8 down here, and in my numerator I have 0, 0, 2 take away from 0, 8, 0 take away from 3, but we had to carry the 1, 2, and then 1 take away from 2, 1. Notice I can divide both by 2. I'll plug in the point 4 comma 10,200. So y minus my y value, oh no, we're not using y. Here we're using c. C minus 10,200 equals m, which is 1,600 times, here we have, instead of x, my first coordinate is r minus the r coordinate, which is 4. Now we have an equation for that relates how many refrigerators you make to their cost. But we want to write this in terms of cost, so we'll add this number to both sides. C equals 1,600 r minus 4 plus 10,200. Explain what the slope represents. Well, as my r changes 1, my cost goes up 1,600. So as we produce one more refrigerator, the cost increases by, what was it again? $1,600. What are the fixed cost? Overhead. Well, here we need to solve this in my slope-intercept form. So right here, if we were to distribute that the 1,600, I get C equals 1,600 times R minus 4 times 16 would be 6,400, and then plus 10,200. Now I can combine my constants, and that would give me so we have 64 taking away from 102 with the 2 zeros at the end. What we have left over would be 38. There we go. So 3,800. Now that I've solved for C and I've put it into slope-intercept form, I can easily see that my fixed costs, which do not change as R grows, would be the $3,800. What is the cost to make 20 refrigerators? Well, that would be the cost equals R times 1,600 minus, or plus, sorry, $3,800. And instead of R, I'm going to replace that with 20. And what results in this would be 3,200 plus here we have 3800,853, so $35,800 would be my answer. You try number 70. With 100 board feet, you made 3 shelving units. With 460 board feet, you made 15 shelving units. Assume X board feet is linearly related to Y shelving units. Create an equation that relates X to Y. Pause here. You go ahead, then check back with my answer. We'll use the usual ordering of X being my first coordinate, Y being my second coordinate. If that's the case, and X is board feet, I know that one of the points has an X value of 100 and a Y value of 3, and another point has an X value of 460 with a Y value of 15, Y being shelving units. Given 2 points, we can now easily find an equation for this line. First, we need to find slope. M equals 460 minus 100 is my denominator, and in my numerator I have 15 minus 3. Simplify. (12/360), which then simplifies to 1/30. Correct. Now we can use this, and my y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 equation, the point slope form. Here my y1 is number 3, m is 1/30, and x1 is 100. If we want to, we could solve this for y and put it in slope-intercept form, but we can just leave it like this. Let's graph this equation. You try 71, pause here, then check back with my answer. I label my x with board feet and y shelving units, be a little bit more descriptive. Then I need to plot my points 100, 3, and 460, 15. I then draw a line through those 2 points, and I have my graph of the linear equation. And you try 72. With 305 board feet, how many shelving units can you make? So if you had around 305, you could estimate that you could make around 10. Let's now use the equation to solve for this. My x value equals 305. I now need to find my y value. Y minus 3 equals 1/30. X in this case is going to be 305 minus 100. So we have 205 times 30, or divided by 30. Let's multiply, well, first let's reduce. 205 has some 5s in it. 30 has some 5s in it. This reduces to 41/6. And now let's add 3 to both sides. And what we have here is we can combine my fractions, and then we can use our calculator, do long division to find y equals 9.83. So with 305 board feet, we could make 9, almost 10 shelving units. So my answer is 9 shelving units. You try 73. How many board feet do you need to make 20 shelving units? Pause here, then check back. How does your work compare to mine? So I know that y equals 20, and I'm trying to figure out what x is, that is, the board feet. I put y equals 20 into my equation, so 20 minus 3 equals 1 over 30 times x minus 100. Simplify the left-hand side, and then I multiply both sides by 30 to get rid of this fraction. 17 times 30 I got was 520. And now I can add 100 to both sides to get 620 equals x. Let me check my graph. So when x equals 620, so way over here, my y value should be, well, certainly bigger than that. So around 20 seems to be a good number. So my final answer is that you would need 620 board feet. You try 74. Is 0, 0 or 10, 0 a solution to this equation? Pause here, try it on your own, then check back with my answer. Recall that we can check an answer by plugging in the numbers into my equation and determine if it turns out to be a true statement. So if I replace y with 0, subtract 3 from it, is that truly going to be equal to 1 over 30 times, instead of x, I'll replace it with 0, minus 100. Oops. Now I can simplify this side. We have negative 3 equals negative 100 all over 30. Negative 3 equals negative 3.3 continued, which no is not true. So 0, 0 is not a solution. Okay. How about 10, 0? In the place of y, I'm going to replace it with 0. And in the place of x, I'm going to replace it with number 10. Simplify. If I have negative 19 divided by 30, what I'll result in is negative 3. So yes, 10, 0 is a solution to this equation. And you try 75, I want you to think, what is the real life reasoning behind those points? 0, 0 or 10, 0. Now the first point, 0, 0, refers to 0 board feet making 0 shelving units. And in real life, this is true. If you have no material, you can't make any shelves. The other point, 10, 0, says that with 10 board feet, you can make 0 shelving units. And this is also true, but this point is actually on the line. And we're not quite sure where this 10 extra board feet comes from. I would guess that from the very first shelving unit that you make, that would require an extra 10 board feet, because you could make mistakes, or perhaps you need to create a stand to make the rest of the shelving units. But there's a little bit of waste that goes into the very first shelving unit. Example 41. Roman sells quilts for $70. His sewing machine cost $1,900, and the material for each quilt is $30. Find an equation that relates P to the number of quilts sold. So first, we need to keep in track of profit and cost. So revenue minus cost would be the profit. And here we see that he earned $70 for each quilt, so that would be 70 times X. And his cost would be $30 per quilt. And also the fixed cost of the sewing machine, $1,900. We simplify this to get the profit that he makes is $40 per quilt, subtracting the fixed cost. Let's graph Roman's profit equation. In example 42, we can graph 2 points, 0, negative 1,900. And then I chose the x value of 50 and discovered that that would make a y value of 100. Plotting these 2 points, I draw a line between them, and then I label my x-axis, my p-axis, and my equation, or linear equation. You try 76. Find Roman's profit when he sells 0 quilts and 39 quilts. First, estimate using the graph. The 0 quilts, it's quite easy to see that his fixed cost for the sewing machine would have been a complete loss if he hadn't sold any quilts. So he would have lost $1,900. After making 39 quilts, he would have earned 40 times 39, but subtract that from the fixed cost, and he still would have lost $340. What is the slope of the profit function? Here the slope is 40. Interpret the slope in terms of the application. So, slope is change in the y, which in this case is profit, divided by change in x, which in this case is number of number of quilts sold. So profit here, slope is dollars in profit per quilt sold. When does Roman break even? First, estimate using the graph. So he breaks even when he earns 0 profit, which appears to be around 47 or 45. Let's figure that out. When will P equal 0? So we can add 1,900 to both sides and then divide both sides by 40. And what do we result in? X equals, so the zeros cancel out, 190 divided by 4. You can divide top and bottom by 2, and we will result in 95 over 2, or roughly when he sells 47.5 quilts. So once he's sold his 48th quilt, he will finally be in the black. Even. And from then, he'll start making straight profit.